Welcome back friends to my another video tutorial of Anita Bioconcept, and in this video tutorial I will be discussing about the various properties and differentiation of B and T cells. Properties and differences of B cells and T cells. Okay, B cells and T cells. So, I will discuss about some of the characteristics. So, first is about the origin. Okay, so we will see here that where does the B and T cells does originate. B cells originate in the bone marrow and the origin site of T cells is also bone marrow. T cells are generated in bone marrow, as well as B cells are also generated in bone marrow. So, this is the origin organ. Second point we will see about maturation. Maturation of B cells and T cells. So, maturation of B cells takes place in bone marrow itself, where it is generated, where it is formed, but the maturation of T cells does occur in thymus. B cells maturation takes place in bone marrow and T cells maturation takes place in thymus. Third point we will discuss expression of antigenic receptor. Okay, expression of antigenic receptors. So, B cells does express their antigenic receptors in the bone marrow, but T cells does expresses the receptors for the antigen in thymus. Next, we will talk about the differentiation. Differentiation. Where does the differentiation of B and T cells takes place? So, these two types differentiate in the lymphoid tissues. B cells also lymphoid tissues and T cells also differentiate in the lymphoid tissues. Now, the next point is about surface immunoglobulin. Surface Ig means surface immunoglobulin. So, we will see here that whether the B cells and T cells possesses the surface immunoglobulin or not. So, in case of B cells, the surface immunoglobulin are present, and in T cells it is absent. Okay, and in case of B cells, if it is present, then what is that known as? This is known as B cell receptors. So, immunoglobulin are those B cell receptors. Next point is about type of immunity the T and B cells possess or does show off. So, B cells shows humoral type of immunity, HMI, humoral mediated immunity, and in case of T cells they shows cell mediated immunity, CMI, as well as humoral mediated immunity. B cells shows humoral mediated immunity, antibody or complement mediated, and T cells does shows cell mediated immunity and humoral immunity as well. Next point is about the secretory product. What type of product does B and T cells secrete? Okay, secretory product. So, B cells secrete antibodies as well as cytokines as their secretory product. But in case of T cells, they secrete only cytokines. They do not produce antibodies. They do not produce antibodies, and in case of B cells, they produce antibodies, they secrete antibodies plus cytokines also. Okay. Now, the next point is about receptors. What type of receptors does B cells and T cells does express on their cell surface membrane? So, in case of B cells, immunoglobulin act as receptors and complement receptors are also present. Complement receptors are also present on the surface of B cells. But in case of T cells, the receptor is known as T cell receptor or TCR, which are present on T cell membrane. So, with this is about the properties and differences in between the B cells and T cells, which are the major cells of immune system, specifically adaptive immune system. So, with this, thank you all. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel, press the bell button as well as share it with your friends. Thank you.